I think we're at a tipping point moment for this country, and I don't say that lightly. I think what happened today in the assassination of Charlie Kirk is a tipping point moment. I'm going to talk more about that in a second, but I just wanted to come in and say a few words. I've just been thinking about this nonstop since it happened this afternoon. We were, of course, live during our show this afternoon when we knew what happened, but then watching and waiting and hoping and praying that he would make it, and then getting information from the hospital letting us know live on the air that he didn't make it. It's absolutely devastating. I'm absolutely heartbroken, number one, for his little boy. 1-year-old little boy, 3-year-old little girl who are now fatherless, for his wife, first and foremost. And then I am absolutely gutted for our country. I'm devastated about what this means for the future of our country. This does not end well. And when you have all of this rhetoric of violence from people across social media calling for attacks on people like Charlie, we knew it was going to come to this. We knew it was inevitable, sadly. Assassination attempt on President Trump, attacks on other fellow conservative commentators, swatting across the board, showing up at people's homes with SWAT teams, trying to get people killed, hoping that someone will have a gun in their hand so a SWAT team can kill a person. This was going to happen. But I have a lot of unanswered questions about today, and I just want to kind of go through them. Watching the video so many times, getting analysis from friends and law enforcement and sources that were there at the event. How did this happen? How did a shooter who was on the roof and seen by many students, pointed out by many students, allowed to lay prone at 200 yards in a perfectly prone position in order to fire on Charlie?
Getting right up.
Yeah. You think he'd already be in place?
You would think that. So there's somebody on the roof right there? Just saying.
Huh.
He just ran from over, where's my finger? Whoa. From over there, ran in, and now he's right there. Just saying.
To fire a perfectly timed shot right as he's speaking about violence in the United States, right as he's talking about trans mass shooters in the United States, and asking us to all reflect on this. This is a question we've asked on our show. Why are so many of these mass shootings carried out by people that are likely on SSRIs and some sort of medication, mental illness, and they're trans? Can we have that conversation? No, let's just shoot you instead. We don't want to talk about that because that's intolerant. Why was he wearing body armor? Why was Charlie Kirk wearing body armor? And of course, the way that the bullet hits him, you can see it clearly bouncing right off. It was a kill shot aimed right for his heart, to hit his aorta, to hit that entire, as a friend in law enforcement, former FBI told me today, he said it was like a mess of pipes right there. That you don't shoot someone in the head, that's for the movies. You shoot for the heart because any professional would do it that way. So Charlie was wearing body armor. It deflects the bullet up, hits him right in the neck, and kills him. But more importantly, why was there no ambulance or EMT on site? In Utah, as in other states, state regulations require gatherings over a certain percentage of people, over a certain number of people. Even cities have different regulations, require an EMT on site and an ambulance. Go to any local carnival in your neighborhood, and you'll see an ambulance parked there, ready in case someone is injured. Why at this event with thousands of people? No ambulance, no medical, nothing. And so when he's shot, how does he get carried away? By 6 individuals grab him and throw him into the back of an SUV. Incredibly difficult to try to administer any kind of care on someone in an SUV. No room to move around, no way to really administer any kind of CPR, try to stop the bleeding, do what they can in the back of an SUV. No ambulance. So likely died on the way to the hospital. Why do we not have this shooter? FBI Director Kash Patel just moments ago posting that those individuals that they rounded up initially and were shared all over social media. Even the university said that they had captured the shooter. Wasn't the shooter at all. Who were these individuals? Who were these people? Eyewitnesses immediately said, this guy didn't do it. He's like a homeless guy. He has no money. We know the guy. He lives in our neighborhood. Like, this guy didn't shoot him. Other individuals rounded up. Why did one person who was rounded up, as you can see here, have a pellet gun in his possession? And photos were shared of law enforcement, shared on social media. We got the guy. This is the shooter. This is not the shooter. And why did he have a BB gun, essentially a pellet gun, in his possession? As friend of the show, former FBI agent Kyle Seraphin pointed out, this is a simple pellet gun. But that was shared all over social media. We got the guy. No, he's still at large. He's still at large at this level. So, all that to say, we don't know who the shooter is. We do know that Charlie had told friends in recent weeks that he feared that Israel was going to kill him. Those are Charlie's words to friends, not mine, because his views on what has been transpiring in Gaza as the genocide has unfolded has evolved significantly from where he was months ago, apparently, according to friends that knew him well. So why was he wearing body armor? I mean, I guess just sort of any protection in an event like this would make sense, right? But he was telling friends that he actively thought he was going to be killed. Something to consider. We don't know more than that on that piece of it yet, as the story still evolves. So beyond all of those questions that are still outstanding for me, and excuse the wind here, I've been outside all day after this and just talking to friends and close friends of Charlie and just taking the dog for a walk in the woods, because even my son came home from school today. He's 15 and he was gutted about it. My young daughters knew all about this, because for my son, who has a bunch of conservative young men, 14, 15, 16-year-olds who are close with him, they looked up to Charlie Kirk. They would share videos of him speaking on campuses. They looked up to him. In fact, my son talked about him as a man, like he was he's 31 years old. It was a strong figure for young men. Be a good father, work hard, be a good Christian, all of those things. Take personal responsibility, have a strong work ethic, take care of the women in your lives. And so that message, in the same way that my son, looks up to somebody like David Goggins, his friends, like they want to be men. And they silenced an important voice in that movement for young men. So it makes sense, a very strong voice for young men who have they have had their masculinity really stripped away over the past decade under these liberal policies, under this liberal academia, that you're not allowed to be a man. You're not allowed to be a man. And so a voice in that movement has been silenced, and I'm just gutted about it. I am really gutted about it. And I just sit and think about. So all that to say, I've just been outside today, just nonstop, just to be outside walking the dog and trying to get my thoughts together on all of this. This obviously really hits me hard, but I'm sure it hits many of you equally hard. But I'm just struck by the strange arrests, the weird decoys at this event. Why a guy with a pellet gun? Why pretending like we caught this guy? Now we know that we don't have the shooter. Why all of that? But at the heart of it, for me, I believe we are at a tipping point moment for the United States. For far too long, conservative men, independent men, have been too tolerant, and they've been sitting back and they've been allowing this violence to go on. They've been sitting back saying, oh, there's the radical leftists again, carrying out another mass shooting. There's another leftist, who's been arrested 14 times slashing a white girl on a train. We're outraged about it. But this feels different. And speaking to a lot of my conservative friends in positions of authority, they're feeling the same. And I think we're going to see a revolution in this country. I really believe that. Unless something changes. Unless we have law enforcement that's willing to go after and lock these people up. When somebody goes online and makes a threat against somebody like Charlie Kirk, or otherwise, or Tucker Carlson, or myself, or it doesn't really matter who. Why are those people not being investigated or arrested and put behind bars? The threat of violence against some another human being in America, there should be no place for this. And yet we've allowed it. And these, Facebooks and social media platforms with this type of rhetoric and violence, I'm not calling for censorship. But I'm calling when someone makes a threat of violence against another individual, that person has a knock at the door and is likely arrested, brought to justice, and made an example of in front of other leftists who are fine to be out there criticizing and calling for violence against somebody else. It needs to stop. But for far too long, the right will just sort of shake their head like, look at these crazy liberals with their blue hair, and they're punching police officers, and they're setting businesses on fire, and look what they're doing to Portland, and they're burning down these buildings, and Antifa is attacking, attacking Tucker Carlson at his house, or going after his home and his family in Washington, D.C. Oh, isn't that funny? Going after judges, going after Supreme Court judges. Like, this is enough. This is enough. This is a tipping point moment in the United States. I don't think, I think you're witnessing now the end of this tolerance. You're witnessing the end of men just sort of sitting back, allowing this to happen. I think we've had it, and I am really worried about what comes next. But I will say this, it feels like you've made your own bed. It feels like these people have made their own bed. And they had better be ready to lie in it, because I think that that's what's coming. I hope not. I hope that there is maybe a mass change in these cities. Maybe these liberal cities where they've allowed people to wander free. They make threats against people, and they're just no punishment whatsoever. I hope that changes, but I don't think it's going to. And I'm really concerned about what happens next. And I don't say that lightly. But if what I'm hearing from my friends and what I'm seeing online over the past 7-8 hours is any indication of what's coming, we are at a tipping point moment for the United States, and I'm really concerned about it. I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong. But I'm just gutted for Charlie's family, and I'm just praying for his little boy. Just absolutely crushes me. It absolutely tears me up inside. His little girl and his wife. I lost a friend a few years ago. One of my college friends. I was actually on the air at Fox and Friends that morning, or it was like the night before, and I learned that my good friend from college, he was a brain surgeon, for crying out loud, and he died of a brain tumor. He had two little boys, and I couldn't stop crying. It just tore me up so much. And I, sent a message to his family on Fox and Friends, just, saying I'm just so torn up about this. And I couldn't even control myself. I just was crying so much just to think over like these little boys being, raised, not having their father around. And it just tore me up inside, thinking about my little boy and, being able to go out and play baseball in the backyard with him. And so they took a lot. They took a lot from this family. And I hope these scumbags rot in hell. And you know what? Utah has a firing squad, has a death penalty. And I hope we make an example out of this son of a bitch, because there's a reckoning coming. There's a reckoning. All right, that's all I want to say about it tonight. We'll see you tomorrow.